This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, super practical.
I'm not telling people to have a mistress. I'm teaching you, learn the lesson from the people who have a mistress, because there's many business lessons that apply.
Pious.
There's a part in the book of Revelation where Jesus says, I want you either hot or cold. I'm spewing lukewarm churches out. And I think it's a good way to look at your list.
Romantic to his very core.
Once in a while, I'll give my girl a present, like a Snickers bar or something.
And totes tender.
If someone asks you to walk on eggshells, smash the eggshells and let the chips fall wherever they may.
Adored by feminists everywhere.
It takes a strong woman to admit when she's wrong.
Not a judgmental bone in his entire body.
I look at all the free information people give just on Facebook and I go, what a bunch of time hose.
Has a PhD in armchair philosophy.
In the land of dumbasses, the smartass is king.
You'll never meet a more sensitive guy.
If you really care about people, you shame the hell out of them. This is Ben Settle of the bensettle.com podcast. And we're going to do another 7 email players rules. And if you don't know what email players rules are, they are basically maxims and principles and strategies sometimes and ideas that I live by to make my life better, to make me a happier man, to make my business better, more productive. I did not make all these up. Some of them I made up. Some of them my brains farted out. Some of them I've learned from others. Some, it's from observation, for talking to someone else, whatever. I try to give credit where credit's due when possible. The idea came from this show called the Beige Phillips Show, put on by comedian Dante Nero. And his show is about getting your balls back. It's for guys who want to do better with women. And he did these rules. He called them the Beige Phillip rules. I thought that is a cool idea. And I adopted it to the email players rules for our show. And we've done 147 so far.
Wow.
The first 140 are actually in a book called the Email Players Rules Volume 1. By the time this comes out, I don't know if it'll be published or not, Jonathan, but it is in the works. The transcripts basically will be in a book for people who want to read it. And so it is. So we're going to go through 7 more, starting with Email Players Rule number 148. And that is, and I don't remember where I heard this, Jonathan, but when I heard it, I was like, a little light bulb went on. Sunny places attract shady people. And, unfortunately, this is the way it goes. That's why, for example, when email was discovered, whenever that was, it was like the 7th wonder of the world until all the spammers came to it. All the shady spammers had to come and ruin it for the rest of us. Not ruin it, but, certainly made it harder, than it was. Harder to get attention. There was a time when people would check their AOL and they would love that you got mail and they would love it. Oh, I got an email. Now it's like, oh, how do I get rid of all this email? How do I find the one I actually want? It's totally changed because of shady people, because of these spammers and con artists and the crooks and all that. It happened with Google AdWords. There was a time when that was like the Wild West. I mean, it was a really great place to advertise. And then people playing their stupid games, their black hat games and all that. And now it's much harder to use, and they had to, for their own integrity. No, I certainly don't blame Google for doing it, having to change things around. And it's harder for the rest of us. Same with article directories. I'll tell you, Jonathan, it wasn't that long ago, probably I guess it was long ago. I think it was like 13, 15 years ago. The article marketing was great, especially on like sites like easyonarticles.com. I mean, it's nothing like it was back then. It's not their fault. It's just the fact that you had so many shady article directory farms out there that Google started punishing articles. And, now it's harder to get, you can still get traffic from them. And I still think people should, but it's not like it used to be because the shady people were attracted to the sun. And so be it. And this is every industry that's ever been. This is why certain medias come and go, why they get outlawed one minute and they're back the next. It happened with infomercials. It happened with 900 numbers. It happened with broadcast facts because a few shady people had to abuse it. The people that were using it legitimately suffered. Happened to do not call list, even though that seems to have gone out the window. I don't even think anybody, I still get calls from people, but whatever the case is, sunny places attract shady people. If you are doing something good and you have something good, I'm just telling you, you are going to get ripped off. Shady people will come and they will find ways to use your hard work to make money with because they're attracted to sunny places, and so be it. All right. This is why I use, for example, for my informational products, I use Takedown Czar. I don't know if that's the website, but Takedown Czar, like CZAR. That guy there His name's Alistair. Great. They have a service. They will start getting your products delisted from Google. So Google won't even look at the sites where they're sharing your stuff. And it makes a difference. It definitely makes a difference. And
They're little pit bulls.
Well,
They
they'll
came
give you
after
like
me once.
well, they give you this big printout. They even show you like all the places. It's like hundreds of places every month. That's how bad it's gotten. And so be it. You know, the podcast factory, unfortunately, has attracted a few shady podcasters. Like Dan Meredith,
talking to right now,
like Ben Settle and Dan Meredith and that Doberman Dan, probably the shadiest of them all. He's
bad, yeah.
Well, even the merchant account industry, right? Like he'll tell you his merchant account stories. It's because of all the idiots who abuse merchant accounts, who used to do forced continuity and not like disclose it and all that. That the rest of us now have to have multiple merchant accounts because now the bureaucrats are like trigger happy. You know, they might shut you down. I have 3 merchant accounts. I should probably get a couple more, actually. Just haven't been that motivated. But, you know, they're out there. Anyway, so that's enough. That's email players rule number 148. That is sunny places attract shady people. 149. Now, before... I know you're looking at this in front of you, Jonathan. So I got to say something. Before I say this, let me say I don't mean this literally. Okay? Before I do this, I do not mean it. Let me be very clear about this. In the age of Weinstein and all that, all right, I'm being very clear about this. This is not literal. This is figurative. And I will give an example. So any ladies listening to this, just don't freak out when I read this. Okay? Just calm down. All right? Are you with me? I got you. All right, I got you. Just ease up. And, if you have to do some angry push-ups right after I read it, that's fine. It worked for Jonathan during the shaming call. It's fine. But in order to love her, you have to hate her a little bit. Now, Jonathan's horrified by this. He's like, well, I don't hate Cupcake, even a little bit. And I don't mean this literally, as I just said. It's just, this is the idea across, okay? I'm going to give a real life example of this. So I'm a big advocate. When somebody's going out, let's say there's this guy, I'm not going to name him or anything because he does not need to be named, but he's been a customer of mine for a long time. Great guy. And this was not too long ago, around Valentine's Day. He was dating this girl, I don't know, for maybe a month or so. And he was really starting to like her and all that. And then she suddenly, he's trying to fall for her. And he admitted he was getting needy and all that because, guys who aren't used to that happening, when they meet a girl they actually like, they tend to get needy and stuff. They're not used to it. They don't understand that this is what happens. And you got to watch that. You got to check it all the time. Well, he didn't. And, he fully admits it. I helped him out through this, actually. And this girl kind of started playing the hot cold game on him, and wasn't getting back to him and making him wait when they'd make plans and, and basically kind of, doing the shit test thing, I'm guessing, where, girls do that to test guys' neediness and all that. I don't think they realize they're doing it half the time. I understand why they do it. I think it's actually smart for girls to do it. I don't see it as a bad thing. I think it's a way to test guys. Do you really want to be with a needy guy? It's a good question. Do you want a guy who actually has more to his life going on than you? It's like, and girls will answer that saying, well, I want my guy to dote on me 20. No, you don't. You want him to have a mission in life. You want him to be doing something cool, building cool stuff, and out there making it. Let's face it. So anyway, back to this guy's story. So he ran into this and he asked my advice. And I said, well, first of all, she's recently single. So the first thing you got to do, if you really like this girl and you're into her, I didn't say it in so many words, like you got to hate her a little, but you do have to be a little distrustful. I said, look, for your own good, here's what I want you to do. And most guys will never do this. And I think we even talked about this a little bit on the Valentine's Day episode this year, but I go, dude, you have got to test her to see if she's still into this guy, because this is probably why this is going on. And so I said, here's what you do. I want you to you have to be genuine about this. You have to really let go of her and just mention getting back with her ex. Like, why don't you get back with your ex? I mean, obviously you think about him a lot. You talk about him sometimes. Why did you guys break up? Why don't you just give it another shot, basically? Now, when I gave this advice and then I wrote an email about this, I got some people giving me some pushback on this, specifically women, of course. So that would never work on me. And I'm too smart for that. I'm too smart for that. It only works on dumb girls, because they realize it's not a trick. Like, it's literally, you're qualifying this person to see if you should be spending time with them. And of course, even one girl even got back to me trying to sell me on reading some book called Why Men Like Bitches or something like that. It's like the hamster spinning, John, I'm telling you, the rationalization hamster spinning is just, it's astonishing. I love it. I should do more emails like just because I love watching this stuff play out. And these girls are they're just incredible people. The way it works, I just love it. I mean, when you understand what's going on in their minds and how they're trying to justify bad behavior, and it's amazing. I love it. I can't get enough of watching it. I know I should probably be shamed about that, but whatever. So he did this, right? And he reports back. And I'm going to paraphrase. I don't have it in front of me, but basically he did that. He did exactly what I said. He found out, yeah, she's still kind of hooking up with her ex every now and then. I guess she like slept with her boss and she did some like foursome or something like that with her friends. Like, and all this stuff came up because he just let go. He wasn't needy. I'm not saying he hated her a little bit, but he sure did, a little bit of distrust went a long way. And now he's like, now I think about this girl because I'm not really that attracted to her anymore, much less needy about her. And I said, this is what I'm talking about. In order to love her, you cannot love her until you get all the facts on the table. And you're going to have to do stuff like that might seem like you're hating them, but you're not. You're doing it to qualify them. And it's to the bystanders, it looks like you'd hate them and you're being mean, but you're not. You're just trying to protect your own integrity. You're trying to get to the bottom of things. You want to waste your time on people. And girls should do the exact same thing. This isn't just a guy thing. So that's number 149. I think I've said more than I already know about that. And on to the next one. This I heard from Dan Kennedy. I don't know if he made this up or if this just came out of his brilliant brain one day, but he said, you can't hit the ball out of the park by bunting. And there's a lot of truth to that, Jonathan. People who are always like, playing it safe, they're playing to not lose instead of playing to win. They're more worried about somebody unsubscribing than making a sale. And so they hold back on emailing more often. They hold back on what they say. They're afraid to be controversial because they might lose a customer instead of realizing that being controversial actually gain them a more stronger following. You can't, if you're just going to bunt, it's very hard to win any kind of ball game by just bunting. If everyone won, let's say that in the World Series, you got the two best teams ever. Or no, let's say you had the best team who just won the World Series play the worst team who lost, like at the bottom last place, 300 record. And they played together. I don't know what those teams were this last because I kind of stopped watching baseball. But you had the best team in the world play a little league team actually in the world almost. Not literally, but like a high school baseball team. And the thing is the pro people could only bunt. They're not going to win. They're not going to win that game. Even the amateurs will beat them because you can't bunt your way around. You're just not going to bunt your way to a win. It's not going to win. You're certainly not going to get home runs. And this applies to business, applies to just about anything. What I told that one guy, Jonathan, about what to do, about, hey, why don't you do this? Just see if she wants to get back with Rex. That's swinging for the fence there. Now, that's not bunting. Bunting would be, well, what should I text her back this? And what should I say? And worrying about it and thinking about it. And he would get nowhere. But because of what I taught him to do, he hit the ball out of the park. And now he's in control. He's no longer needy. And he has his choice whether he wants to keep talking to her or not. And that's what happens when you swing and don't try to bunt. Jonathan, that might be the most profound of all the email players rules.
There you go.
I don't know. I wish I could say I made it. That was number 150, so maybe there's something to that. Number 151, email players rules number 151. This comes from the great and esteemed publicity expert, Paul Hartunian, the man who quite literally sold the New Jersey man, I should say, who quite literally sold the Brooklyn Bridge for $14.95. And that is one of the most brilliant headlines ever. That was the press release headline he wrote that got him like inundated with so much press. He had to leave the country. He literally just told one person where he was going because he couldn't get away from the media because, New Yorkers and people in Brooklyn, I guess, hate each other. So like there was a lot of contrast in that headline. One thing he teaches a lot of good stuff. I actually recommend his publicity course just if you want to learn to be a better copywriter because learning how to write or a better email marketer because just learning how to write press releases the way he teaches in a very tight format, bullet-heavy format, will make you way better writer, guaranteed. He said something, this is at the very end of his course. He said, the world is changed by a checkbook. And he gave the example, because him and his girlfriend, or I don't know if it's his wife or girlfriend, they run a dog shelter. I think it's called Aunt Mary's Dog Shelter. Some great work. They do a lot of really good work. They're looking for a place to donate money. I've done it. I think everyone should. They do good work. They help dogs. And he says, our dog shelter just brought in a puppy that had been abused. It had a broken leg. Somebody threw the puppy out the window and they were able to, and somehow they got it at Aunt Mary's doghouse. They brought it in there. Someone tried to kill this dog, Jonathan. Broke its leg.
No kidding.
I think it broke some other stuff too, but definitely not in good shape. He goes, it wasn't like good thoughts and vibes, like Facebook likes. This is before Facebook, but you get the idea. It wasn't like sending good thoughts and sending good vibes and healing thoughts and all this. No. What saved that dog's life was him getting a checkbook out and writing a check to the vet to fix that dog. And that's the whole point. The world is changed by a checkbook. So people think money doesn't matter are dumb, because how are you going to pay for food if you don't have money, right? For example, like it's the way it is. If you want to affect any kind of change, you're really going to have, people say, well, what about, Gandhi and Jesus? They didn't have money. Well, actually, look at Christianity is one of the most profitable organizations as a whole. It's attracted more money than probably anything because of him. And because you cannot run a religion on good thoughts, and prayers. And that's not how it works, so the world is changed by a checkbook. So people listening to this, and I don't know, but I'm probably just preaching to the choir here. Actually, my audience is way too smart to not understand this concept. If you're sitting around, not realizing that you should be, if you really want to make things happen in your family life and your business life and anything, you need to start making some money, and it ain't going to make itself. All right. That business ain't going to run itself unless you've built a great business like that runs itself. But most of us haven't. And so the world is changed by a checkbook. That's the way it goes. And so it is. I would almost recommend somebody watch the beginning of Wolf of Wall Street of all movies when he talks about money. And even though he's like the anti-example that, it's like a what not to do movie, he did have a good point. Money lets you kind of do what you want. You can change the spot. You can save the spotted olive if you want. Give money to the charity of your choice, whatever. It's changed by a checkbook.
Coupons.
Yeah, fun coupons. I just watched this last weekend, so it's kind of like it's in my mind. It's changed by a checkbook. I don't recommend when you make it that you crumble it up and throw it into the garbage can for fun like he did, or snort cocaine with it or anything. I think you should use it for good, but it is changed by a checkbook. This goes back to last week's, and I'm not going to belabor this because this is we did a whole episode about this last week, but nothing happens when you're comfortable. Nothing happens when you're comfortable. Jonathan, I'm just going to leave it with this one analogy. It isn't until somebody has to go to the bathroom, like someone who's, you're watching your favorite show in your favorite recliner and you're very comfortable. And it's not, and your favorite movie's on. It's not until you feel so much intense pressure in your bladder that you're going to actually stop the movie and go to the bathroom. Because until you're uncomfortable. And I'm just going to leave it at, that's my analogy for the day. That was such a dumb analogy. It counteracts the Dan Kennedy Bunsen. But so be it. But it gets the point across. Nothing happens when you're comfortable. If you want to, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to get out of your comfort zone and do it as regularly as you can. And if you don't, you're just going to be stuck. You're going to be like these copywriters who are always going to be working for someone else, even though they have enough talent to make 100 times what they are now if they just learned a little bit about how to run a business. Their own little information business. Like I teach in 10-Minute Workday, for example, at 10minuteworkday.com. Plug. Email players rule number 153. You can't cut off Superman's balls and expect him to save the world. True or not, Jonathan? Like if you're going to literally emasculate Superman and expect him to save the world, it's just not going to happen. So I've told this story, I believe, on this show before. Maybe it was in the last version of the last incarnation of the podcast when it was the Ben Settle show. I don't remember. I heard this from a guy named Rollo. I hope I'm saying his last name right. Thomasy. He's at rationalmail.com. He's a brilliant thinker, brilliant man. And I'm just going to paraphrase what he said because I don't have it in front of me. But he was talking about this. This is how Superman lost his balls. Superman was Superman, right? He's strong. He's fast. He can leap tall buildings in a single bound. Okay, he does all that. He saves the world. And Lois Lane falls madly in love with him. She thinks he's the coolest thing in the world. The coolest man has ever lived. Superman. He's Superman in name and in deed. Right? And probably in other ways too. And so everything's fine. But she does what some girls tend to do. And she starts, wanting a little more. He's not cleaning up, helping around the house enough. He's not showing her enough attention because he's been out saving the world. She wants him home for dinner on time every night. But, he had to save a train from going off the track or whatever. He didn't get back. She's just nagging him a little bit. And after a while, he gets tired of it. And, okay, I'll help her out of the house a little bit. I'll come home and, I'll even do the laundry a couple times, because my love asked me to. And I'll do all this. So I won't be Superman. I'll be, the house man for a little bit. And so he does. And for some reason, Lois doesn't know why. She's starting to become a little annoyed and irked at Superman. She can't rationalize it. She even tells her friends, I don't know why this guy is pissing me off so much. But he just angers me because he's doing all this stuff that she's asking him to do that he's not out saving the world. She's basically cutting his balls off. She's like, She's domesticating this guy who should be out there saving the world. Should be out there fighting Lex Luthor and Brainiac and Doomsday. I mean, who's going to save the world from Doomsday if he doesn't? All right. So, but this is what's going on. And so things start going like that, and she's getting annoyed with him. You know, he's starting to get a little needy because he's sensing her withdrawing a little bit. So he's being, you know, not completely invulnerable emotionally, at least. You know, he's getting a little needy because of that. Because when somebody leaves, when in nature, we pursue that which retreats from us, and that's what's happening. And so eventually Lois, like, you know, she starts doing some girl night out with her friends, and, you know, starts doing the partying thing. And Superman's like worried, you know, getting a little worried. He doesn't admit it because he doesn't want to look like he's needy or anything. He's getting a little worried. But so he doubles down and does more, stops being Superman even more. He stops being the very thing that she loved. That's what made her fall in love with him. She didn't fall in love with, you know, Mr. Mom. He fell in love with Superman here, but he's turned into Mr. Mom. And so he is not what she fell in love with. And so now he's getting really worried because she's not coming home. She comes home and takes a shower right away, Jonathan. And she has you know,
washing the sex off her.
She comes home and like you know, notices that the shower is on, but her hair, there's like moisture in the air from the shower recently being on, and her hair's not wet, and the toilet seat's up. And he's starting to put two and two together. And so he starts getting really worried and needy. So he decides to follow her. He decides to follow Lois Lane to see what she's up to. And so, you know, he still has his powers. He can do this. And he uses his X-ray vision, and he sees her with that she is with another man who's Batman. Batman, who has a mission, and he's never let anyone take his balls. He's always been who he is. He doesn't even pay that much attention to her. He's just too busy out there trying to save Gotham City. And he is what Superman was. And she left Superman for a man who was Superman. What Superman was when Superman was Superman. And that's my whole point. She cut off Superman's balls. Now, an argument can be made, and I would totally agree with it, that he allowed it to happen. Absolutely. Remember, this is another email player's rule. It's always the man's fault. In this case, it's Superman's fault. But I'm just saying, if you cut your man's balls off and you nag him to death like that, and this ends up happening, you want him to, like, you know, do the laundry all the time, and you realize you're getting a little annoyed and you don't know why. Ladies, you have a little responsibility here too. All right? Don't cut your man's balls off. And because what's going to happen is, you know, time is on his side. If he got any value to him whatsoever, his stock is going up. And as a woman, yours is going down. I mean, it's just how it goes. The older he gets, the more money he makes, the more attractive he gets in that way, and the more successful he gets. And, you know, this is just how it works. As a wise man once said, women age like milk and men age like wine. So realize this, that you're not doing yourself any favors by cutting your man's balls off. You should love him, try to help him be the best. Support him in being the best he can be, and don't cut his balls off. So that's number 150. We got one more left, Jonathan. We're going way over time here. Way over time. Email players rules number 154. And that last email players will probably get me more. That's like the shaming one all over again. Number 154. If you're hard to love, you'll be easy to leave. Now, this is, I don't know if it was Patrice O'Neill who said this. Somebody said this, and it's very profound. If you're hard to love, you'll be easy to leave. And, you know, sometimes people like to try to play games and all that with the people they love. And this isn't just romantic. I'm talking about in general. If you make yourself hard to love, eventually you're going to be very easy to leave when people get burned out. And this is why, and this goes back to Patrice O'Neill, Jonathan, I really believe this. I think he was right, he was onto something when he used to say it's way more important that you like, for at least in romantic situations, for a girl, it's more important for a guy to like her than to love her. Especially, I mean, it really is. Because guys will love a girl. Like that one dude we talked about. You know, he's starting to fall for that girl, but he didn't really like her. And look what happened. He found out all the dirt about her. He had no problem getting the dirt on her and all that. Because he did love her. I'm not saying he loved her, but he was certainly going in that direction. But, you know, he didn't really like her because she's not likable. And this isn't just for girls too. This goes both ways. If you're hard to love, you will be easy to leave. Eventually people will get burned out on you and leave, and there's no coming back at that point. I've seen this happen in personal things. I've seen it in business. I've seen it even in family situations. You know, you'll have people who just do not get their lives together and who make everyone else's lives miserable, and they're trying to help that person out, and eventually everyone just cuts them out because they're easy to leave at that point. So let that be a lesson to you, Jonathan and Cupcake.
Thank you.
You both heed those words. And that's all I got. That's all I got this time. And I don't know what will be next time, but I'm sure it'll be something that gets me in trouble or whatever, but that's the way it should be. So That's all I got.
All right. Another bensettle.com podcast is in the can. Back in your earbuds next time.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To download yourself a free issue of Ben's prestigious $97 per month email players newsletter, which is going to show you 24 ways to write emails people eagerly read, click, and buy from, head on over to www.bensettle.com. Well, off you go. You know it makes sense.
This is the podcastfactory.com.